Hi again then guys, and welcome to another tune setup for one of the cars from the 1.38 patch. And for those who are wondering why it's taken a little bit longer to get around to these tunes, it's because I was having some upload issues with the raw footage, so we finally got back on track with that thanks to PSN getting its act together a little bit more, and now we can get around to it. Last car that we're covering, the last one to review, the last one to tune, and that is of course the Honda Fit. Now you could do a circuit tune in a similar way to what I've done here, but just with different tyres. So if you want to try that, you actually could. It's a really good circuit car as well, and I built it for N100 circuit events, but then it just wasn't that quick. In fact, it was one of the slowest N100 cars I've ever done. So if you want to use it for circuit, of course you could, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It's not like you can tune it up to the peak of N200 either anyway, so kind of an issue there. So what I've decided to do is similar to the Gordini, which is tune it for rally instead. So I would recommend dropping the weight as far as it can go, increasing the power as high as it can go. Of course, that's totally down to you. You could give it 200 horsepower, max power, N100, whatever you want to do with it. As far as the traction control, you want that turned off. Incidentally, you also want to make sure that you're on the dirt setting up here, because if you tune it in your garage on road tyres and then take it to a dirt track, the game will actually swap from road settings to dirt and you'll lose all of those settings. It's an easy mistake to make, so make sure that you're on that first. As far as traction control, of course, you don't need it off-road. Dirt tyres are the deal of the day. As far as the suspension, we've dropped the ride height a little bit to 120mm from 140. You could go lower if you want to, but of course you've got some jumps, some undulation associated with rallying, so you don't want the car to bottom out necessarily. As I said, you could go lower if you want to, it's down to you. As far as the springs, we've got the frequency on 1.8 for the front and the back, the anti-roll on 7 and 6 respectively. As far as the compression on the dampers, I've dropped it just a little bit to 60, likewise with the rebound to 90. We've got no camber, no toe. If you use it on the tarmac, you might want to try half a degree of camber on the front. It can help it to be that little bit sharper through corners. As far as the diff, of course with a front-wheel drive car you've got a ton of options. I've gone for the lowest settings on all three. That works pretty well for my driving style. You could try increasing the initial torque, see if you prefer it. When it's on the circuit, or on the street in other words, for something like Dragon Trail, I tend to have it higher, so like 65.5 instead of 5.55. So it depends what you want from the car, what you intend to use it for. And finally for the gearbox, of course this is with the full power. So if you retune it for N100, you will need different settings here, but you want a fully customized transmission. I would recommend an auto setting of 149 miles per hour. Then as far as the gears themselves, we've got first gear all the way to the left to improve the acceleration off the line, then 1.5, 1175, 970, 820, 700 and 600 with a final drive of 50-50. And once again, it is a rally car, so of course you don't really need top speed, so you can adjust that as and when necessary. But what you want to see, of course, is what can this actually do on the dirt? Well, as it turns out, quite a lot. It's actually a really good little rally car. Of course, I've spoken before on the fact that front-wheel drive and, for the most part, rear-wheel drive rally cars aren't really my thing. Of course, all-wheel drive is kind of in its element off-road, but this car goes to show that with the right tuning, and certainly on the right track as well, you can definitely use a front-wheel drive car to be effective. I mean, cars like the Citroen Zara rally car prove that, but even with the physics of this game, or more so the physics of Gran Turismo 6 actually, it wasn't really conducive to front-wheel drive, whereas now front-wheel drive cars feel a lot better off-road. And this is a perfect example. In N200, as I said, not even at the peak of N200, you're like 220 horsepower instead of around 240, you can still run a quicker lap than some of my rally builds for stuff like the N300 Mustang Mach-1. And of course that's a much bigger, much heavier car, but it's also a far more powerful one. It's got well over 100 horsepower more, significantly more torque, and yet this one is still like 2 or 3 seconds quicker. So you're looking at around 132 for the lap time here. Pretty good for an N200 model. I'm not claiming it's going to be the fastest N200 car you can get, of course, but if you do want to get some use out of the Honda Fit and maybe you don't find it quick enough for road racing, then try it on the dirt. It's very fun. It's pretty good through corners because of its size, and you can have a lot of fun with it. So of course, if you want to check out my other rally builds or tunes in general, you can click here on screen, and for now, as always, Thanks for watching.